Hi, and welcome to In the Clear, the only show that tried to pirate its own episodes. My name is Tom Stark, and we have a great show for you planned tonight. We're thrilled to begin our very first episode today on Labor Day. This way, after your barbecues are over and your stomachs are full, you can wind down with some entertainment on us. We have a lot of great content in store for you at home, whether you're sitting in bed watching on your TV or listening with your headphones in the bathroom stall at Starbucks. You won't be disappointed that you tuned in. Our first segment will be an interview with the man responsible for hybrid calisthenics, followed by a segment I like to call This Exists, where we take a few moments to look at something strange and unique to have you asking yourself why anyone would spend any time making it at all, which I feel is something I ask myself way more than I'd like to these days. Like imitation lettuce. Honestly, who needs that? What allergy or condition does that help with? Just because we can make something doesn't mean we need to. Before we begin with the core of our show, we wanted to take some time to explain to everyone what Labor Day actually is, why a lot of us are off for it, and why it's important to know. Labor Day started in 1882 in New York City and was held by the Central Labor Union. It has since become recognized as the first Monday in September. The holiday is put in to celebrate the accomplishments of the workforce and to celebrate the American labor movement. This movement is the reason your workdays can't be too long, your wages as high as it is, even if you don't think that, and you get to enjoy certain benefits like breaks and not being forced into working incredibly hazardous conditions that endanger your life on a daily basis. However, this doesn't cover every line of work which are hazardous and dangerous, like the guys on Deadliest Catch who risk their life in the Bering Sea so that you can watch Discovery Channel in your pajamas. Lumberjacks who cut down trees and deal with dangerous machinery on a daily basis, or waiters who deal with the fury of a woman named Karen anytime their food comes out slightly cold. Either way, the idea of the day is to celebrate that we can work and we can do it for somewhat fair wages and conditions so others don't have the rights to do it. So, make sure you eat your fill at the barbecue, at your estranged uncle's house, and enjoy all the festivities you could during the long weekend. He makes content that helps people for free. He cares more about the fact that you meet your goals than he does about banking from his routines. Ladies and gentlemen, here's my interview with Hampton about his company Hybrid Calisthenics. Hey everybody, I'm here with Hampton from Hybrid Calisthenics. Hi Hampton, how you doing today?
Hi, how are you? I'm doing great. How are you doing? Thank you for having me on.
I'm doing well, thank you for being on. I just wanted to ask you a few questions about the company and your goals and what's going on with everything you do, if that's all right.
Let's do it. That's very all right. That's why I'm here.
All right, first off, can you explain the name behind the company? Why is it Hybrid Calisthenics?
Okay, I'm really happy that's your first question because I wish more people would ask me that. I thought more people, I don't know what I thought, but that's something I did put a lot of thought into because I want people to consider this. If you follow my content, if you don't, we'll have more stuff for you later on. But if you follow my content, I want you to consider that I could have just as easily named my channel and my brand Hampton Calisthenics. Hampton's my name. Or I could just name it Hampton. And it would have had, in my opinion, pretty much the exact same result. But I didn't because I didn't want it to be about me. I wanted it to be about the community. So first of all, I really want to focus on the community more than I want to make money from this, more than I want to be, verified on Instagram or whatever. I want a community that thrives if I suddenly disappeared. I don't know if it's quite there yet, but if I suddenly disappeared, I want a community that goes on hopefully for years and years and years. So there's that. The calisthenics part is, so calisthenics is body weight exercise. So exercises you do with little to no equipment, think push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups, things like that. I don't just do calisthenics. I also do a lot of isometrics. Sometimes, I'll show exercises, I'll demonstrate them with weights. But I chose calisthenics because it is the core of my fitness program. There are people who follow me who don't do calisthenics really, but I chose calisthenics because it implies that you do not need to let anybody sell you your own health, strength, and happiness. You don't need to go and buy, a $5,000 machine off Facebook, for this. Really, all you really need to improve yourself and live a happy, strong life for most people is just your own body, and even a pull-up bar. I sell gym equipment, but I'm telling you, you don't necessarily need it if you really can't afford it or just like no one can ship to your country. I don't know. You can use a tree. So calisthenics implies that we have the tools to empower ourselves. I don't mean to sound, woo woo, and overly hype out there, but I like calisthenics, and I chose calisthenics because it implies that we have the tools to improve ourselves within ourselves. Hybrid part, because again, it could have just been Hampton Calisthenics. The hybrid part is because, again, I don't really stick to one thing. I've never really been good at sticking to one thing and just being a Puritan in one thing. I add things from yoga and we put it into calisthenics. I add things from gymnastics and we put it into calisthenics. From strongman training, like I can do basic strongman feats like ripping a deck of cards, stuff like that. Yeah, it's easier than it sounds. I can give you some ideas, but I have a few videos on that out there. But I haven't really incorporated powerlifting or anything, or hand balancing is a big one. I want a few people to add in pieces of content, so it becomes hybrid calisthenics. It becomes a mixture of different things. We take the best out of all things. We don't want to be too stuck in our ways.
We're also curious how you, in particular, began your fitness journey. Like, what started everything up for you?
Well, I've always really been into fitness. I've always been an active kid. You've heard me say, you might hear me say in other interviews where I was always the kid where if you just let him be for a second, he'd run around and you'd have to go and catch him. Okay, because I was always very active, and I was somewhat athletically gifted. There were kids that were a little faster, a little stronger than I am. Maybe, I don't know. It's hard to get a list of that when I was in school, but I always did well in sports. So I was very active, and some would argue because you're good at it, I was always into push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups, and stuff like that. And I've always really been into calisthenics because that just appealed to me. Some people really wanted, they couldn't wait until their parents let them go to the gym and they could lift weights and get swole. No, I mean, and there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that if you go about it the right way. But I think their parents were into that, or their dad was into it, or maybe their mom. And my dad really wasn't. We were more into. He was more into Tai Chi, and I studied martial arts from him, things like that. So there was an emphasis on body weight training, not necessarily weights, and just using the environment around us. Around when I was 22, because I kept thinking, well, all I'm really doing is push-ups. Sometimes I would explore squats, pull-ups, and stuff, but I never really had a regimen on it. I was like, well, I kind of have a neck issue, that I kind of got from wrestling, so I really should explore bridges and stuff like that. So I picked up a book called Convict Conditioning, which you don't really hear that many people talk about it anymore, but it made a splash when it came out. It was about calisthenics. It was written from the perspective of someone who was in maximum security prison, and the only way he could really train himself and survive was body weight exercise, mixed with some other things. He pulled on bars and stuff, but a lot of it was centered on body weight exercise. So I read that, and it had what he called the big six, which is push-ups, pull-ups, squats, leg raises, bridges, and handstand push-ups. And I read it for the bridges, but I ended up reading the whole book, and I'm like, well, this makes a lot more sense. And instead of doing 100, 500 push-ups a day, I would do it more like not a bodybuilder, but how a bodybuilder might approach his workout, where you need to add in regimented rest, because you grow and you get stronger when you rest. It's not just about doing it every day and pushing yourself and making yourself miserable. There's a lot more to fitness than that. You have to put in rest. So I did that, and I started doing sometimes 3 days a week, 6 days a week, and it became more of a program. In this, I learned something called progressive calisthenics, which is the idea that one exercise is not like a push-up. It's not just a single exercise. It's a family of exercises. So wall push-ups against the wall are pretty easy. One-arm push-ups are relatively hard, and you can scale almost any exercise to be almost infinitely easy and almost infinitely hard. So that just for example, if we take push-up, which is probably the most famous calisthenics exercise, and most popular one too. The hardest form of push-up, which I'm not even sure what the hardest one would be, not even just even approaching that, there's no one that can do that right now. Okay, the easiest one, assuming you have arms and you're not paralyzed, we can find one that works for you. I mean, there's always exceptions. I don't want someone to be like, well, I'm paralyzed and I can only move my arm an inch. He said I can do a push-up. I'm so triggered. I'm sorry. Okay, this is, for the vast majority of people, we can find something that works for you.
I just have one last question we have time for. It's whenever I see your content, and I've seen memes about it at this point, even you're being compared to Bob Ross and Mr. Rogers as this beacon of positivity in the realm of fitness. And how do you keep that air of positivity about yourself? How do you bring that to the table every day for all your content for everybody to see?
Okay. Well, first of all, I apologize. I should have asked like the time frame that we were working with. I would have given you shorter answers.
Completely fine.
But I try to be very try to be very thorough in my answers, and I can talk for hours on it. I do it for a
I'd
living.
rather people see the real you and how you process the thoughts on everything. I like it better this way.
Well, no, but I don't know if you put a lot of thought into these questions. I think because these three are very. If I had to choose three, I might choose these three myself to explain myself. Um, this is for anyone who wants to do something similar to what I do. Like if you want to do like exactly what I do, something on YouTube, and you do like carpentry or something. This is something I would like to impart to people. I never sat down and said, I am going to do fitness content, but in a wholesome, positive way, a non-judgmental way. I never sat down and did any of that. I just started talking. Yeah, I put out a camera in front of me and I started talking. So I never decided that I would be positive. People noticed I was positive and people gravitated towards that.
All right.
And I mean, this is so different from what I'm doing, but there's someone, if you have your shtick, your niche, you could be someone who just yells at your audience, and some people will love that. No, some people will love that. They're like, "Oh, I feel so motivated." Like you do it in an air where you're loving them and yet yelling at them. They might love that, and that works for some people. So I never sat down and decided I'd be positive. I started talking, people noticed I was positive, and that's actually one of the reasons why I went viral on TikTok, which was my first major platform, I guess. It was a video on like diamond push-ups. I was like, don't do them with your thumbs out like this. Do them with your hands closer together because this can flare your elbows. I said, well, it applies differently to everyone else, but it was just me giving a quick tip. No real reason for that to go viral, but people noticed that I was happy, I was smiling, and they said, well, this guy has good vibes, is what they said. And I was like, oh, and that was never something I manufactured. I was just in a good mood when I made videos. I was happy that day. So I never manufacture a niche. You are the niche. Everyone is a niche in some way. And as far as like how I stay positive and happy, I just feel blessed that I'm alive some days, because we don't want to get too much into it, but I mean, some bad things have happened to me and my family members. And I feel like I don't try not to take too much for granted because all of it can disappear. So I want to take advantage of what I have, and I really want to give to everyone without expectation. I want to give to the community. It's what makes me happy. It's what I thrive on. So that's my answer to that.
I like that a lot. Thank you so much for your time today and answering all these questions. Everybody, once again, this has been Hampton from Hybrid Calisthenics. Hampton, have a great day.
Have a beautiful day. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Once again, that was Hampton and his company, Hybrid Calisthenics. Check out his page and social media platforms where he's always putting out new content. Linktree in the description below. Today we chose to bring you to Reddit, one of the most unique places on the internet, to talk about this, r/people with bird heads. This literally is what it sounds like, everybody. Just pictures of people with all kinds of bird heads on them. Think of it as a more horrifying version of what the Egyptians used to depict gods back in the day. Just all the grace of the statues and art are swept out for ridiculousness, like this, or this one, which I like to call Fred. I mean, look at these. It's insane, and I'm pretty sure most of them are photoshopped. The obscurity of this page is boding well, as the page has 12,000 members. 12,000 of you need to have your feather-brained photo needs met, and I wish I were one of you. We wanted to not only show you this Reddit page, but make a fine addition to it. So everybody, I give you Tom Squawk. The photo has been added to the page, link in the description below. Well everyone, I'm happy that you enjoyed this first episode of In the Clear. If you want to show your support to the channel, give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and follow us on our social media. All links in the description below. And if you really want to support us, there is a link to our Patreon as well. Other than that, have a great night. This was In the Clear. I'm Tom Stark, and I'll see you Wednesday.